Welcome to Takeology with your three boys in the lab so you can do the cooking. I hope you're having a wonderful day. It's your boy, Alex Houston, the host, and we got Avery in the building. We are missing our most trusted statistician, Matt McDonald, but it's okay. Hopefully he'll tune in later, just at least watch us. But I hope you're having a good
Just a
day. We got
lot.
some Thursday night football. Avery, how are you today?
Man, doing pretty good. Can't complain too much. Had the day off of school, so
There you go.
just living. Gonna watch that Thursday night football game we got going on. It's gonna be pretty good one.
Uh, Pretty good. I don't know. Let's hope so. I'm tired of bad quarterback play, and I'm tired of
Mm.
just bad offenses, and the defenses are ruling, really honestly, this year so far. But we'll see. We'll see what happens tonight with the Giants and Cowboys. You know what? They're playing right now, I haven't looked at the score or anything. They just started. I'm pretty sure Giants have the
Yeah.
ball 0-0, right?
Yep.
All right. Who do you got winning this game tonight, Avery, and why?
Yeah. I got Dallas. I feel like this isn't a must-win game, but this is a pretty big game for them. Overall, I think they have to try to get this game done because going to 1-3 in this division, I don't think the Giants are elite, but all four of these teams right now. I mean, the Redskins are 3-0, I believe. Yeah, they're 3-0. You got the Eagles who are pretty solid. I mean, they're going to take another 2 weeks, but once Brown and Smith are back, they're going to be on fire. And then, I mean, we saw it in Week 1 against Green Bay.
Yeah.
And you have to win these games in your division because the Cowboys don't play easy teams. So I think this is kind of a must win. We've seen it before. I think they're going to throw the ball 8 billion times tonight, but we'll have to see about it. Definitely, I know me and you both want CD to do bad, so maybe we can trade for him. But I don't think if he has another bad game, we got to talk about Dak playing bad.
Yeah.
Like, he did so good last game, but that was in garbage time, really, against the
Yeah.
Ravens. But I got the Cowboys. I think they're going to get together tonight. They're going to learn. They just got to throw the ball. They can't run it. They just got to throw the ball. How about you? What you thinking?
My heart says pick the Cowboys, but just for the sake of the pod and having a different opinion, I'm going to go with the Giants today. And here's my reasoning. Okay. They just played. We'll talk about this game too here in a second. We're going to finish up the week 3 games, talk about them a little bit. They played the Browns, and the Browns is a great defense. Okay. And they beat them, right? 21-15. And they didn't look awful. I mean, Malik Neighbors really kind of popped off. Devin Singletary moved the ball on the ground at least a little bit. So I think this Cowboys defense is worse than the Browns defense for sure, and they haven't looked good this year. And I just feel like the Cowboys haven't gotten together yet. I think that'll change. That's just who they are. I mean, that's what they did last year. After the bye week, they were a whole different team. But it's because they started throwing the ball to CD. So I'm gonna have to go with the Giants today. I like an upset, right? I'm not a big Cowboys fan anyway, so I'd like to see them pull through. Maybe a little bit of faith for Daniel Jones there, right?
Facing Daniel Jones. That's a crazy statement. I didn't think I was ever going to hear you say that, but here we are.
We
Daniel
are.
Jones, I think, is a top 15 quarterback right now. Great. I think he's a top 10 quarterback, like fantasy points per game wise, which is crazy. That's
He's
just
number
the state of
17.
oh, that's not too well. He had an awful week 1. I mean, just
Yeah,
terrific week
yeah.
1. You take that out though, the last 2 weeks have actually been pretty solid for him. But that's the state of quarterback we're in right now. It's just awful. They're just some bad. We've said it before. They're just some bad quarterbacks right now. So
It's
that's just
sad,
how it is.
but I think that'll change. It's only week 3. The scope of football is going to be completely different by the end of the season. Well, it's week 4 now, I guess. It
Yeah.
moves too quick, man. I'm telling you, it goes fast. It felt like just last week we were waiting for football season to start, and now we're in the midst of it. All these injuries. But speaking of injuries, we're going to get into the lab report here just a little bit. A little quick lab report, keep you updated on football news and what's going on around in the league. Right now, there's just a few that we already know are not going to play, just because they've already been injured, right? Like Puka Nacua, Cooper Cup, CMC, the usuals. Isaiah Pacheco, right? I believe AJ Brown is not going to be playing this weekend. It's not looking good. Don't know about George Kittle. He's still questionable. I don't know if he practiced today or not.
Yeah. He practiced today. I saw the reports. He's coming back
Good.
off that hamstring. So it's good that he was partial practice today. I think he's going to approach this kind of like T. Higgins does. You've seen him the last 2 years. he does partial practices and then full practice. So if George Kittle isn't a full practice, I wouldn't be surprised to see him not play Sunday.
Mm,
But this team really needs him. So I
yeah,
won't either way, I won't be shocked. I bet he will be he's one of those guys that if he can play, that's how the Niners are. Like I do respect the Niners in a way. You have Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, and Debo. That these guys don't sit out games if they don't have to. I think the medical staff is having to tell these guys to take the absence that they have to take. Because if it was
yeah.
up to them, I think they would play. There's no doubt they want to play the game. So I like George Kittle. I didn't get him this year, but I think if he comes back, he could have a good game. But yeah, he's definitely probably will miss this week along with Debo. They both have pulled hamstrings, so that's usually a 2 week injury, and they're both going to probably miss this week and be back next week.
Let's hope so. Maybe not for Brock Purdy's sake, even though he's balling. That man is cooking. My goodness. But, I hate to say it, but he is. On top of that, Alvin Kamara came up with a hip slash rib injury, questionable. He didn't practice today. He could still practice tomorrow. It's not looking too great for Alvin Kamara managers. So be on the lookout for that, especially, myself included. I have him in both leagues. So that's not fun at all. It's pretty serious, it sounds like, right?
It is. I don't know if you watched the. I don't know if you were watching the whole game or not, but the shot he took was right at the. That's when I sent you that text. He took the shot and was just laying on the ground. Like as a football player, I only played high school. I'm not like some baller over here, but I can tell you, you can tell when guys get hit, and sometimes it hurt. Like you hear the pop, you heard the pop, and he was down. So the problem with it is, if this was a younger running back, you wouldn't be concerned, but because he's in that 30-plus-year-old threshold right now, there's not a guarantee that he's going to come back. And it's crazy that we talk about him like he's old. He's 30. He's really not a dinosaur, but in terms of running back, he
He
is.
is.
So I'm not going to be surprised if he doesn't play. He took that hit was hard. He did come back in, which is good news. But what part of that's like adrenaline and what's not trying to finish out the
Yeah.
game for your team? And we'll see this week. They're playing the Falcons. The Falcons really don't let up a ton of runs. So would he have done great this week? Probably not. But who knows? I think this New Orleans offense just needs to keep it going. They just had a bad week last week. So, but yeah, he definitely is probably, I'd say it's 60-40 right now, not playing to playing. So, but if he practices tomorrow, great news. If he practices, that's great news.
Yeah.
But he has to practice tomorrow.
Yeah, I hope he does. For the sake of my team, I need a win this week, or it could look real bad. We'll see, especially against my matchup. No offense to Matt, but he has a lot of those guys that are injured. Uh, Devontae Smith, I think he is out for this weekend under concussion protocol, right? Is that or I think he's
Yeah,
under.
if he's still, he also took a heck of a hit in that game.
He
He's
did.
probably the reports are he's doing fine. The problem is he didn't practice today. They're probably this is a guy that they just signed. He's a young he definitely is a younger guy. He's got one more contract left in him, like to get one more big bag. So they're going to take this the smart way. He's a young, great receiver. He plays second fiddle a lot to AJ Brown because that's just talk so highly of AJ Brown.
Yeah.
But he plays second fiddle. But this guy could have been a wide receiver one on any other team. He could have not signed and went somewhere kind of like the Brandon Ayuk thing. Like they could have got the
Mhm.
money but played for a worse team. He's a great wide receiver. He did take a hard hit. I doubt as I want him to play this week, but I doubt he'll play this week. And kind of like a waiver wire pickup. Any of the Eagles wide receivers.
Dallas go
That's
dirt too.
me. Dallas Go Dirt is probably not available in your league after waiver wire claims.
Yeah.
But these Eagle receivers, I think, are going to be available. My personal number one pick was Jahan Dotson,
Mhm.
and so I think he's the guy. But we'll have to see about that. And if you have no other feeling, if you're one of these guys like me and Matt, like you just have a ton of injuries, maybe you have to pick up Dotson in order to have someone to play.
Yeah.
That's just a little bit of waiver wire information right there.
A
Go check the league. I
little
think
sis.
Dotson could have. I mean, they're playing Tampa Bay. They don't got a great pass defense, but then again, there ain't no one on Philly that's healthy. But yeah, Smith is probably going to miss this week. I won't be shocked if he does, but he should be back next week.
I think that in some ways adds value to Saquon Barkley and takes away value from Saquon Barkley because defenses are going to go, you know what? Beat us with these third strings. Like, come on, see what you got. So we'll see how that affects Saquon. I'm sure he'll do fine. But another injury that we've got going. I just went blank. Well, Marvin
Oh,
Harrison.
are
Marvin
you talking
Harrison.
about Marvin Harrison? No, it's all good.
Yes.
I was like, where are we going with this? I can take this one. I know I was talking about it earlier with you. He has like a quadricep pull. I don't really know how in depth that is. It's different than a hammy. So your hammy's on like the back of your legs. Your quads reach down. It's like four muscles down there that reach your knee. So we'll have to see how it goes. If this is really something, it's odd that it's one of those kind of like trying to think who else did it this year. Kind of like the AJ Brown thing. Like it just happened before the game, or Evan Ingram. That's what it was. Happens before the game.
Yeah.
So this could be if he doesn't practice tomorrow, he's not going to play. This is their first round receiver. They don't want to put him in a situation where he's going to miss the whole season. So just look out. I don't know how serious this is because you don't hear of this injury a ton. It's usually your hamstring, not your quads.
Yeah.
So in your quads, that's why Saquon Barkley's legs look so massive. It's because of his quads. That's what it is. And so if these are hurt, I mean, that takes a ton out of your legs. We'll have to, it's just not a common injury. He's day to day right now. But kind of like what we said the other guys, if they miss the Friday practice, the odds of them playing are down substantially. Pretty much none. If they don't practice Friday, unless they're an older guy or a running back, they're not going to
Yeah.
play. So that's a big thing. Trey McBride is also probably not going to play this week. He's also in concussion protocol, which is at that point I don't know who you play from. I don't
James
know if you
Conner,
play.
maybe.
Yeah, but like you said, same thing with Saquon. Maybe it adds value, maybe takes away. They're going to go
Yeah.
beat us with Wilson, and so just see how that goes. But yeah, definitely look out for that. I don't know who to pick up from the Cardinals. I haven't done a deep research, so I just saw that news before this. We'll see
I don't
how
know
it
if I
goes.
would. Yeah.
Yeah, tight ends though, just not looking great so far this year. Just not looking
Just
great.
it's just been buns in the tight end position. So that's everybody though. That's all. I mean, you drafted the top five guys, and they're not even the top five. Like they're genuinely. I don't even know if they're top 10 in some ways. But the guy I also was going to say Austin Eckler is in concussion protocol, and Austin Eckler's been looking pretty good in the passing game. Really, this Commanders team doesn't look bad. Jaden Daniels is playing pretty good. Their defense is awful, but it's good for fantasy value in terms of Jaden Daniels. So Brian Robinson will have a big um, work share now that Austin Eckler's gone because Austin Eckler did a lot of pass downs and he really got some work in there and it started to look pretty good, especially last game. So Brian Robinson is definitely an upgrade. I mean, you're probably already starting him anyways, but be looking out for that, especially Avery's take on Austin Eckler is kind of looking pretty hot, looking good.
I feel bad because Austin Eckler, I think, just had such a bad. He started the year off with the injury, looked great week one, and
Yeah,
then he had another injury, and I think that his ankle injury really derailed him. I don't think he's ever going to be the top five guy again. I think if Washington wanted to make him it, he could be it. I think he could be it for this year. Brian Robinson, though, you were already going to start this guy.
yeah, should
You're
just
just going to keep playing him. So this guy just went from a mid RB2 to probably a mid RB1.
yeah.
He's had a great year. Definitely, I didn't think he would, but I've just been impressed with him. So that's all I'm going to say about him. Austin Eckler, I hate it. That was my guy to start the year. I thought he was great value going in the ninth round for a guy that's getting you 10 points a game and a half PPR. That's just great value. There's just nothing more to it. Kind of like him and Tony Pollard are two of the diamonds in the rough from those late round grabs. That looks like so far, but
Right.
we'll have to see how it goes. And again, with concussions, depending on the severity, his might be more of a 2 week miss. Usually you miss 1 week. His might be two because he had to get flown to a separate hospital and
Yeah.
they were doing tests on him, so he'll probably miss 2 weeks. But I don't know how much if you're starting Austin Eckler,
You're in
you're probably
trouble.
in the trenches right now. You're
Yeah,
probably in the
yeah.
trenches if he's not your flex play. So that's just me. I do see on here that the tight end Lupecki just caught a touchdown, not Jake Ferguson. So that's always interesting. Just shout out my boy Alex having Jake Ferguson. Thought that was interesting. But yeah,
You gotta hate football.
CD's also doing pretty good right now. He has 3 receptions for 30 something yards. Just
Well,
I'll keep us a little postponed during it, but just know that he's
Jake
still not
Ferguson
going to
needs
be
to
a
get that freaking ball in the end zone. I don't care who you are, Jerry Jones. I don't care what we're doing. Get Jake Ferguson the ball. Hope he hears it.
it's gonna be Ezekiel Elliott 1 yard rush touchdown.
Rika
Come on,
Dowdle, freaking
come on.
Jalen Tolbert. It's just everybody but who you want. So
Yep, ain't that the
gotta
truth?
love it. Well, speaking of some football, we're going to do the rest of the week 3 recap. Few decent games that we didn't get to talk about in week 1. We'll start with what we talked about. They're playing tonight. Giants versus Browns. Like I said, Browns is a good defense, and honestly, the Giants don't have that great of a defense. I mean, they don't have that great of offense either. I mean, they're just kind of in a middling position, maybe even not middling, other than because of Malik Neighbors. Malik Neighbors is becoming a top guy. I think he's top 10 receiver right now, probably PPR and half PPR. The man has been balling. This last game, he had 25 fantasy points, 12 targets. That right there alone, you don't even have to look at anything else. 12 targets. That's what you want in a fantasy receiver. A guy that is going to get the ball, and if he catches all 12 of those, you're having a heyday, honestly. But he had 78 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's the guy on this team. And apart from Devin Singletary, if you're starting him, because he actually hadn't played bad, Malik Neighbors is the only guy you're starting from this team, honestly, unless you're in a position that we just can't understand, where you have Daniel Jones as your quarterback. But Devin Singletary always had a pretty game. Got some work in the passing game, 4 receptions. So that was kind of nice to see that he got that, and he owns the backfield. This is Devin Singletary's backfield, so it's good to see that in terms of the running back. On the Browns side, their running game wasn't very good. They were waiting for Nick Chubb. They want him to come back. And, I mean, I do too, as a Georgia fan. Don't know what he's going to look like. But Deshaun Watson surprisingly didn't look awful. We've kind of been waiting for him to plummet so Jameis Winston could come in, but Deshaun Watson's been holding down, although they are 1-2. So we'll see if that changes this weekend. Amari Cooper is the guy on this offense. So, Avery, what do you think about this game? How are you feeling?
I think you kind of summed it up. The Giants, you're playing Malik Neighbors. I wasn't in on him, and that's probably a mistake. It looks like a huge mistake. I let
Yeah.
him fall a couple times, but I couldn't have expected him to come out and get 20 targets a game. Just couldn't have expected that. That just is what it is. But he's definitely a guy. If you're not starting him, I don't know what you're doing because this guy is insane. And I don't think his value is going to go down because
Yeah.
he's the only option they have in the passing game. So I think he's going to keep getting these 10, 15 targets a game. We'll see how that goes. I also think, like you said, I think Singletary is a great running back. I know for me personally, I just traded Cook in another league, so having Singletary as a backup just made me more available to do that trade. He's also a guy that was going lane rounds that some guys didn't pay attention to,
Yeah.
and I feel like that was massive value. You look
Oh, yeah.
back now and you think, how did these guys fall so far? And I don't think Singletary is going to be a guy to get you 20. He's never going to have just an insane boom game unless he scores 4 touchdowns, but he will get you 10 points a game. I can almost guarantee he'll get you 10 points a game, which is
Yeah.
crazy. On the Brown side, I think Amari Cooper might be questionable. I think he'll play, but I think something happened after the game. I saw somewhere that he's questionable. Don't
Yeah.
know how serious it is. I didn't look into it, but he's the only one. That's because I have no investment in the Browns besides Nick Chubb. I knew I don't believe in Deshaun Watson. He played decent. Maybe he picks it up. We'll have to see how it goes. But yeah, I'm still not touching unless it's Amari Cooper. I'm not playing anybody.
Mm-mm.
Jerome Ford hasn't had as good a year. We all thought he was going to get all the volume, but he just hasn't got. It's just weird. You would think he would, but he just hasn't got that volume. I forget who's back there as well.
Deontay Foreman.
Deontay Foreman has also got, and the problem is he doesn't get a ton of the work, but he gets just enough of the work for it to be annoying. That's
Yeah.
what's so agitating about it. So I don't know. I'm not playing anyone on the Browns. I need Nick Chubb to come back. He won't come back full until like week 8, but just coming back and give me something. I'm in a hurting spot for some running backs. And he would really boost my team. So I'm hoping he comes back. But
I have a few if you
I,
want
I
some.
I don't need to run it back. I don't need to have him tomorrow. But yeah, I think the Giants they're not going to be. I thought they might not win a game, but they're doing just fine. They'll win a
Yeah.
couple games this year. They'll get a mid pick. They'll get some offensive linemen next year. This will be a good team in about a year to 2 years. The problem is, I don't think Daniel Jones has a year to 2 years to wait. If this isn't a playoff team this year, I think he's done,
He's done, yeah.
which is crazy to say. But because he honestly, like we said, he hasn't played the worst out of all the quarterbacks this year.
Which is
There's some
crazy.
guys, Trevor Lawrence, Caleb Williams. There's some bad players this year at
There's been
QB.
pretty bad.
I'm also gonna,
Anthony
I'll
Richardson.
no, I'll throw it in here anyways. I saw something today. Crazy stat. I'm gonna throw it in here.
Go for it.
Patrick Mahomes is like QB 16 right now. Just absurd. Which I get it. And someone made this comparison today. We were talking football, and I think it's the right thing to say. Patrick Mahomes is still the greatest quarterback in the league. Like, no doubt, he is the greatest guy in the greatest quarterback. The
Yeah.
difference is you still compare him to that 2018, 2019 year when they had Tyreek, but that's just not how this offense has to play anymore. That's why he just doesn't do it. So that's just kind of a side note. If you can trade Patrick Mahomes, do it. Get something good back for it, like a top QB. I'm not saying he's
Yeah.
going to be bad. He'll do good. He'll have boom games.
He'll get you
But
15
that's
minimum.
Yep. So that's just that's what I'm thinking about it. But yeah, this game was just Giants. You're playing two guys. Browns. You're playing one guy. That's about it. That's all I got for you, honestly.
Yeah, that's really there's not much past that on in terms of these two teams. Really, on this is the next two teams we're going to talk about. There's not many people you're going to be playing from these teams either. You're obviously going to be playing one of them, and that's Anthony Richardson, but it's because you drafted him where you did. Maybe you're not playing him. I don't know if it's time to give up on Anthony Richardson because they have played some good defenses and they had Pittsburgh this weekend. But his passing accuracy is so bad. The athletic talent, the arm that Anthony Richardson has is amazing. I mean, he's a great athlete. In terms of quarterback play, though, he has not looked really that good. He's thrown tons of picks. He hadn't really gotten in the end zone. There was week 1 where he completed 9 passes, and he's looked the best then. But he completed 9 passes. So it's not like you're excited about Anthony Richardson and the output that he's had. I've been starting Jaden Daniels over him. That's a rookie, you know. So I don't know if it's time to. You can answer this question when it comes to you. Is it time to give up on Anthony Richardson? You know, I don't know if that's the case. But if it's time to give up on Anthony Richardson, to me, it's also time to get rid of these receivers. If you can get rid of Pittman now, I say do it. Okay? You're not going to be starting Alec Pierce. You're not going to be starting Adonai Mitchell, Josh Downs, because Anthony Richardson is playing the way he is. The only person you feel like you can consistently start from this offense and that has played really good this year is Jonathan Taylor. He's looked awesome. But he cannot keep up this amount of carries when he's already been injured and he already battles injuries as it is. So Jonathan Taylor's, it kind of gets risky just like Alvin Kamara or Josh Jacobs because they're such workhorses. But Jonathan Taylor has been balling out this year. I mean, this last game he had 26 fantasy points, 110 yards, 2 touchdowns against a good Chicago Bears defense. So it's not like, they're not playing a good defense. Jonathan Taylor got him work. Anthony Richardson only completed 10 passes. It's not like he's moving up in terms of the way he's playing. So it's just sad. So I'll throw this to you. You can talk about the Bears side, but do you think it's time to kind of just not give up, but almost move on from this Indianapolis offense aside from Jonathan Taylor?
I love me some Jonathan Taylor. I've always been on Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
I didn't like that he sat the first of last year. That was kind of due to injury, but also the contract
Yeah.
negotiations. That's really the only thing about Jonathan Taylor that I haven't liked. And that's just because I had to deal with Le'Veon Bell for a year with all that jazz as a Pittsburgh fan. But I think Jonathan Taylor's a great player, plays the right way. And honestly, if you're a Jonathan Taylor fan and you lost by 7 points, you are irate. You know why? Trey Sermon had 2 carries. One of them was a touchdown on the
Goal
goal line.
line. Yep.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And it was like a 2-yard. When he did that, you're almost thinking, did Jonathan Taylor not just get the ball on the goal line? And it's just agitating. But you can't be mad at him for putting up 26. But you think to yourself, like, are you joking me? He could have had 33. Come on.
Yeah.
So I get it. But he's playing great. I agree. I think it's just tough to say. I think if Anthony Richardson has 2 more bad games here, you might see like a Bryce Young thing, where because this team is too good to tank. Yeah, like this Colts team's just too good to tank. They got a good, they got a mid defense, probably a
Their front
top
line's pretty good.
one, probably a top 20. It's not the best, but it's definitely far from the worst.
Yeah.
So, and you got really a great offensive line. You got good receivers too, and a great running back. This
Yeah.
team's too good to tank. So I think in 2 more games, if Anthony Richardson, I'm looking on here, 10 for 20, 167, 2 interceptions. And we all liked him as a ball carrier, 8 carries, 24 yards.
Yeah.
That just doesn't get it done. So I wasn't on the hype train this year. I didn't think he was polished enough. There were things that I didn't like. But I agree. If it's time to sell, you sell now. If you don't sell now, you're either
You won't.
banking that this guy's going to make deep plays or that they're going to put Joe Flacco in at some point. Like that's your hope. And
Yeah.
I know like you traded him for George Pickens, which I think is a good trade.
Yeah.
But if Joe Flacco comes in here, you're probably going to be upset because then
Yes.
we saw what he did last year with Amari Cooper. He's going to do the same thing to Michael Pittman if Joe Flacco comes in. I
Yeah.
think if Joe Flacco comes in, Michael Pittman becomes a top 15 guy because he loves the short routes. He doesn't run a ton of deep routes. I mean, last game he had 4 for 5 for 36. That doesn't get it done. But then again, Anthony Richardson only threw the ball 20 times.
Yeah.
That's also not going to get it done. So it's just a hard question. But if you've screwed yourself by drafting Anthony Richardson so high if you didn't get a backup quarterback. And
Yeah.
I'm kind of this year I didn't take backup quarterbacks. I usually do, but this year I knew I had decent enough quarterbacks. But if you're going to take gambles like this, you have to make sure to assure yourself like you
Yeah.
did. But your problem with what you did, you got the same guy in two spots. You got Richardson and you got Daniels, and all it takes is this one fluke injury to these
Yeah.
running quarterbacks, and they're just it's crazy to say because everyone's playing the same amount of snaps essentially, but somehow these running quarterbacks just get hurt more often. But that still was a good gamble. I mean, it's paid off for you so far. I mean, it hasn't really paid
Well,
off because yeah, you're
it
preaching.
feels good, other than
It does
that, not
feel good.
really.
But yeah, I think Michael Pittman you might hold on to for hope that if this team loses 2 in a row or something, that Joe Flacco comes in and takes over and Anthony Richardson can have some time, which he's young. He's 22 years old.
Yeah.
He's going to develop. And now, is he going to be some stud? No, I don't think he's ever going to be this Hall of Fame guy.
No.
But maybe he'll learn. So I would hold Michael Pittman. Everybody else, which everyone else is away. I mean, listen, Alec Pierce, Josh Downs, Adonai Mitchell.
Mm.
These are guys that are on the waiver wire right now. These aren't even guys that you can trade. So
Yeah.
I don't know if it's worth you trading. Now, if you can bundle Michael Pittman, do it. Moving on, Chicago, you just can't. Roma Dunze had a touchdown, 6 for 11, 112. I'm going to be honest. DJ Moore had 11, which a lot of that was kind of in scrub time.
Yeah.
But if he throws the ball 50 times, you can play these guys. Caleb Williams isn't having a good year. He's really not. 2 interceptions, 2 touchdowns, 1 carry for 8 yards, 363 yards. Maybe Matt was predicting a week behind because if Matt would have made the prediction this week, it would have hit.
There you go.
Maybe he's just a week behind. Maybe he's just a week behind. So, but he looks good. He doesn't care if he throws picks because he's just throwing that thing deep again.
Yep.
But if they're going to throw this ball, and I think it was the game script as well, since they were behind. But if he throws the ball 50 times like me, I have to decide between Cole Kmet and Kyle Pitts this week. So, but if he throws the ball 50 times, I'm not afraid to put these guys in the game. Like, it just is what it is. And with as bad as the offensive line is, I don't think they can run the ball. So I think they're going to throw this ball. 50 times is a lot. Maybe 40. 40 is a more stable number. So
yeah,
that's just how it goes. But yeah, I'm probably starting the receivers. I would give it one more week on Cole Kmet. He's coming back off injury. If this guy balls out again this week, 10 or more points, you can start him after this. But if I'd wait one more. That's what I'm doing personally. I'm waiting one more week, see if it's true or not. See if I'm going to have a Hunter Henry on my hands, and then see where it goes from there.
That's fair. This running back core is just – we don't even have to touch on it. It's just because this line can't sustain holding any type of defense away from them, they're passing this thing because they don't even have time to create a hole for these running backs to go through. That's why Roschon Johnson had 5 targets. DeAndre Swift had 4 targets. They're passing to these running backs more than they're letting them run. I mean, DeAndre Swift had 13 carries, but he had 20 yards. So he didn't go anywhere with it. So the only way these guys will be relevant is if they fix this line or they pass the ball to them, and they're not going to be.
I don't think DeAndre Swift's a bad player. I just think this offensive line's horrible. So there's just only so much you can do.
Yeah.
And that's just about is what it is. So I think Caleb Williams is going to be throwing this ball 40 times a game.
Yes.
That's why I'm not. And he's going to have bad games. That's just the reality of it. Like, he's going to have some bad games. But, yeah, he's a rookie. He'll figure. Jay Daniels is just so hot right now that it looks bad for everybody else. Yeah, I agree. But this looks bad for the other rookie quarterbacks. So, and which he's just balling. There's no other way to put it. He's just balling. But I think his coach is also putting him in the – we'll talk about that. But his coach is putting him in the position to make these plays. So,
yes,
I think that's –
which is good. Yeah. And Keenan Allen, I don't think – he might play this weekend.
Oh
So
yeah.
they haven't even played. They played one game with Keenan Allen, and he had 11 targets in week one.
Mhm.
So if Keenan Allen can come back and kind of be a part of this offense gets upgraded just a little bit at least, just because Keenan Allen's name. I mean, he'll find the middle of a field. That's what he's done for years. He's not a deep threat guy. That's why Roma Dunze's there and DJ Moore. But Keenan Allen could have a part, and if they're throwing this ball and Caleb Williams can figure out how to start getting completions and touchdowns, and maybe this line gets it together, this could be some hot receivers that you're playing on your team that people are like, nah, I'm out on them. So just wait it out. We still got a lot of football left. You never know. Caleb Williams is capable. It's just a matter of if he can do it. Now,
Mhm.
this game, I don't really know how to feel about this game, okay? Malik Willis, 202 yards, one touchdown, 6 carries, 73 yards, and a touchdown. If you would have told me that Malik Willis came in and balled out like he did, to me, this just makes them wait a little bit longer for Jordan Love to make sure he's 100%. That if they can see that Malik Willis, I mean, the Titans, again, are not a bad defense. So if they can see that, Malik Willis can hold us one more game, get us a win at least, they might sit Jordan Love longer because they want him to be 100%. The running backs, I mean, I did not expect Emmanuel Wilson to get 12 carries after the carries that Josh Jacobs got in week one. So that's a guy to kind of be watching out for. I mean, if he's getting that kind of carries on a decent team when Jordan Love's back, you want to add him to your team, especially for free on a waiver wire or whatever the case is. Josh Jacobs, I traded for him, and it'll pan out at some point. He'll get some goal line touches. I mean, he'll be consistent with 10, right? Maybe not this game. It was sad to see he got 5. Avery's disagreeing with me. He can rebuttal here soon. But when Jordan Loves comes back, this team will look completely different. The receivers will look completely different because it's a good receiver room. I mean, from the top to the bottom, really. Even the young guys there look good. On the Titans side, again, I know they didn't run much because they were behind, but Tony Pollard still got more work. And we really did think that this was just going to be a split backfield. And truly, again, it's not. So you have to be all in on Tony Pollard. And honestly, in some positions, he may be a trade target because he's not looking bad. Now, this Titans team's not looking too great. But the one thing I think that infuriated me the most was I started Ridley over David Montgomery, and I should have listened to Avery last week. But it's okay. You win some, you lose some. Okay, fantasy football just sucks at the end of the day. Anyways, DeAndre Hopkins balled out, although they lost. I mean, the man had 73 yards, 6 for 7, and one touchdown. As an old man, to me, he got his work in. So, Avery, how do you feel about this game on both sides of Green Bay and the Titans here?
So me personally, I've never believed in Will Levis either. Like I'm not a Will Levis believer. I'm not a Mayo man. If you get what I'm saying, not a Mayo man. It's just not my belief. I think he makes too. If you're Tennessee and you just watch Malik Willis do this, you're thinking, man, are we stupid? Because Malik Willis doesn't look great. He's not a future. He's not one of those guys. Maybe he can be. After this game, he looked good, but
Yeah,
I don't think he's one of those guys that can sit in there and be a franchise. He'll never get the opportunity to be a franchise quarterback, which is kind of sad. But that's just how the NFL is sometimes. Sometimes you just don't ever get that chance. I think he might have got that chance, but they paid Jordan Love so much that he's their guy.
yeah,
And really, if you look around the NFL, no one's going to trade for Malik Willis to make him their franchise quarterback. That's just how it is. And that's what people don't get. Sometimes you just don't get the opportunity to be the guy. And that's just how it is. But going to it, Tajay Spears didn't get the most carries, but he did have the most fantasy points. I think he is the better pass catching back out of the two of them.
oh yeah,
So you see, they both had the same amount of targets, but Tajay turned his for 54. Pollard only had 15 reception yards. Here's where it gets interesting. Pollard has been the most efficient back, but he had 6 carries for 14. Spears had 2 for 7. This team just doesn't run the ball a ton, which is so weird. But you would think that after seeing Mike Vanderbilt for whatever 5, 6 years in Tennessee, that they'd keep running the ball. But he left, and this offense is completely different under a new head coach.
yeah.
That their identity is not running the ball.
Mm.
But right now, I'm going to keep on the Tennessee side. I told you. I told you the Calvin Ridley experience. It's just not a fun. Last year, I started him on 7 of his 8 boom games. 7 of his 8. I got the high. I only started him once on one of his 6 or below weeks. So I played that game perfectly. probably because he did the most of his work at the end of the year, which is when I had to play him because of some injuries. But I took that chance. But if you're going to be on for the Calvin Ridley experience, I told you this last week. I'm going to tell you it again for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
When he is projected 10 points, just don't even listen to that projection. Really, you got to look at it this way. Calvin Ridley, there's a bridge here, huge bridge. Like this is the points. You got 0 right here. You got 25 right here. And then there's this valley. And he doesn't hit in this valley. It's either the 0 or 1 or the 20 and plus.
Yeah.
There ain't no in between. There's not. And it's so crazy because this guy is a good player. If
Yes.
he wasn't such a good player, then it wouldn't be like this. But they just can't give him the ball. They got DeAndre Hopkins the ball, though. I'll tell you that. So you run into that problem again. Is someone's got to get left out between him, Tyler Boyd, DeAndre Hopkins, Calvin Ridley, Traylon Burks had a catch. So like you have so many mouths to feed. That's not even counting tight ends. So that's what's so crazy. But you have to account for that. On the other side, Green Bay, I just thought this was interesting, and I told you not to try it for Josh Jacobs. I saw this writing on the wall. Josh Jacobs had 14 carries for 43 yards. That is not very efficient. That's not very efficient.
No.
He had 1 reception for 5 yards. Emmanuel Wilson came in here, 12 carries, 50 yards, 2 receptions, 35 yards, and a touchdown. This guy balled out. I knew he was going to ball, and I dropped him. I don't even remember who I dropped him for. I've dropped some valued players in the Dynasty League because I think someone else is going to be more valuable. I didn't see him doing this week. I didn't see him going off for 15 this week. I don't think he'll go off for 15 next week. But I just don't think Josh Jacobs is this guy anymore. The reason he was so good with the Raiders is he got all the work. Green Bay's rookie is not even on this team yet. Like the guy they drafted in the 3rd round isn't even on this. Yeah, he's not even on this team yet. He's on IR. He's got 2 more weeks. What do you think is going to happen when he starts getting worked in? And then this guy named C. Brooks had 3 carries for 3 yards. Crazy. Like these are guys. I don't even know who this Brooks is. Chris Brooks, free agent. 24 years old. I've never even heard of him. So this is the Packers, but this is Matt LaFleur, and I knew it was. This is why I stayed away from Josh Jacobs. It's just always going to be a committee backfield, and it's just always going to be a committee backfield, which is so crazy because Josh Jacobs could be good. I just think he's an inefficient runner. I just think he survives off pass catching and volume, and he's not going to get the volume. And they're winning. They're winning games is the difference. If they weren't winning games, they'd switch it up. But they are winning games doing this. So I just don't think Josh Jacobs is going to get this work. And maybe I'll be wrong. We'll have to see about it. But who is Green? A.J. Dillon. You saw when they had Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. Aaron Jones was way better than A.J. Dillon. I mean, miles above. But A.J. Dillon still got 10 to 15 carries a game because they just don't believe in that one-man backfield. And that's why I stayed away. Now, could he turn it around? Yeah. But it's crazy. He still doesn't have a touchdown. Or he might have one.
I think he does have one.
One touchdown. And on 14 carries, 43 yards is kind of pathetic. It's like it's just not very good. So we'll see how it goes. But I think
the Titans' defense is decent. It is.
Titans' defense is good. Green Bay receivers, don't worry about them. Reed, Watson. I'm debating about trading for Watson because I think once Jordan Love comes back in, all these guys are back up to where you wanted them. These guys are back to being elite.
Oh, yeah.
But you just got to survive this little 4-week lull. That's all you have to do. Once you're done with that, Reed's going to be a top 20 guy. Watson's going to be a back-end wide receiver too. Dobbs is going to be a flex play. That's just the reality because these tight ends don't do anything.
No, they're dual. They play both of them. So,
yeah. But, yeah, that's just my opinion. I did have to play Packers defense this week, 24. You joking me? Come on now. Let up a touchdown. Let up a touchdown or something. Come on.
Fumble recovery. It was a lot.
I've played 2 defenses now that have put up 14 or more. My defenses have put up like 6 and -2. Thanks, Raiders. I'm believing in you this week, though. We'll see how the Raiders do. They play the Browns. The Browns are awful. So were
the Panthers. Yeah.
So were the Panthers. Yeah, but the difference is the Browns ain't switching quarterbacks, so I'm not too worried.
That's fair. And they might. This week they're like, we heard every talking stuff, so we're gonna show them what's up.
Maybe. But just a score update: the Cowboys are winning 7-6. Just shouting that out real quick.
Okay.
So good close game going on right now. Your boy Jake Ferguson has 1 reception for 7 yards, 1.2 fantasy points. CeeDee Lamb has 1 carry for 10 yards, 4 receptions for 30 yards, so they're getting him the ball. And who do you think who do you think right now is the leading fantasy scorer for the Giants?
Brandon Aubrey. Well, no, that's not. That would. Oh no, you said the
Yeah,
Giants.
that's
Sorry.
well, it's great. It's Joseph G Joseph's for the Giants, but I was excluding the kicker. I was excluding the kicker.
I'm gonna say Devin Singletary.
Wandale Robinson.
Wandale. You know what, dude?
Just wanted to throw that in there. I thought that was a funny thing. Wandale Robinson, 5 for 5, 34. Malik Neighbors, 1 carry, negative 4 yards, 2 receptions for 42 yards. So
Hey,
just
two
wanted that out
receptions
there.
for 42 though. My lord.
Yeah, but Wandale's getting this work right now. Devin Singletary and Rico Dowdle scored the touchdown for the Cowboys. So
Football is just weird.
it
Speaking
is
of
a weird
weird,
sport.
we won't talk about this game long because it just hurts my heart really. Seahawks versus Dolphins. Dolphins got 3 points, only 3 points without Tua, and the Seahawks 24. They're undefeated. Right? Who would have thought? If you did not have Kenneth Walker and you didn't go get Zach Charbonnet, you're upset. Okay. Now I know a guy that's not here today, Matt McDonald, loves him some Zach Charbonnet. So he had 24 fantasy points. I mean, this guy has been consistent. You hate to hype him up, but really, I think he's what running back like 4, running back 9. Well, I hyped him up a little bit too
Run,
much.
Running back 9,
Yeah,
and he's about to take a back seat.
yeah.
So
But even when Kenneth Walker was there in Week 1, Zach Charbonnet still had like 10 fantasy points. So don't just get rid of this guy. Okay, Kenneth Walker could get injured again. I mean, keep him on your team. Just you never know. Having an anchor or a handcuff can be beneficial. Uh, everybody who was worried about DK Metcalf, they should stop worrying. Okay, this offense is passing the ball, especially when Charbonnet's back there. They're not really letting him just run. I mean, he had 91 yards, 2 touchdowns, but DK had 104 yards and touchdown. He is the number one guy on this offense. Past him, it could go to anybody. I mean, Tyler Lockett had 8 targets, and Jackson Smith and Jigba had 3. After a game, he just popped off. I just don't understand. I do not understand how they are not getting Jackson Smith and Jigba. They're not scheming him in an offense because he is such a good receiver. Like, get him the ball. You can scheme, especially. I think he plays slot. And does he play slot or is he outside?
he plays outside a lot. Tyler Lockett's the inside guy.
Okay, he's the slot guy. But still, you can get him work from that outside, or you can even put him in the slot. I mean, you can do so many schemes with this receiver group. I just don't understand why they don't let him work out there. It's not like you're saving him. He's young. You need to be saving Tyler Lockett for his age, you know what I mean? So I just don't understand. On the Dolphins side, you're kind of panicking. I mean, even for Devon Achane. The fact that he had 11 carries, 30 yards, if they can't move this ball with the quarterback, Devon Achane, he's a tiny guy. He's not just going to be able to carry this backfield in a run game. That's not really who he is. I mean, sure, he could break out for a big run, but I believe they're going to try Tyler Huntley this weekend. We don't know. They haven't named a starter. Still could be Skylar Thompson. But these receivers, you almost have to think, I might not start these guys, specifically Jalen Waddle. I mean, Tyreek Hill, you kind of have to where you took him. Jalen Waddle, you might have a little bit of a backup that might look better. I don't know. What do you think about this? The Dolphins worry me. I mean, it's sad truly because Tua's not there. But what do you think?
I think you almost hit the nail on the head. Zach Charbonnet been great. The problem is he's about to take the back seat again.
Yeah,
And if you're the Kenneth Walker owner, probably wait about 3 games. Give it 3 games. He'll stay healthy for 3 games. So
yeah,
give him 3 games and then try to go trade for Zach Charbonnet because you got to have that handcuff. That was one of the handcuffs you needed before. There are some guys you need the handcuff before the season, and I didn't do a great job of it either. But he Kenneth Walker always misses a game or two. James Conner always misses a game or two. So some of these guys, you have to have the backup
yeah,
if they're your big guy. And so I'd give it a week. Zach Charbonnet's about to go back down in this little lull because he's just once Walker gets back, he's just the guy. He's a great running back when he's healthy. So maybe trade for him. That's just a little tidbit. That's probably what I'm going to do. Something like that in about 3 weeks once he goes for about 8 a game. The guy who has him probably wants to move on after that. He's got his high off of him. So that's just how I feel about him. Now, like you said, Geno Smith, which is crazy. DK had 18 points
yeah.
in half PPR. Tyler Lockett had 7. Jason had 5. You would assume that Geno Smith had a good game. You would be absolutely wrong. He
Yep.
only had 200 he went 26 for 34, which is great. Only had 289 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. He really has not looked great this year, and I think this team the Seahawks team's 3-0, and I think the reason no one's talking about them like a playoff team is because they've played some pretty poor teams. They played the Broncos, the Patriots, and the Dolphins. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
Without their
just some bad
starter.
teams.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. These are just they got the Giants, they got the Lions this week,
It's
and
just
then they get the yeah, and so like they have some easy games. That they do have the Lions, the Niners, the Bills, and then the Niners after their Week 10 bye. So they
yeah.
got they have a tough. We'll see if they're legit come the back half the schedule,
Yeah.
but they'll have a tough game this week. I bet they'll lose the game. Probably just an early pick 'em choice. I got the Lions. They're rolling, but yeah, I think you can start I agree. I don't know how you don't get Jason the ball. This guy's a great receiver. This is
Yeah.
not like we're talking about some bad guy or some bench player. Like he's above that. Like I look at like when I say bench player, I mean like Dontavian Wicks or like it's just guys like that or Jalen Hyatt for the Giants. It's almost like he's so much better than all those guys. But he's and it's so weird because um if you would have put anyone on this team, they'd be feeling the same. You could have put Malik Neighbors on this team, and he'd be doing the same thing JSN's doing right now.
Yeah.
Like that's just all he'd be getting, even no matter how elite you are, because that's just how this offense is schemed. And he got put in a bad situation. DK's not going to retire anytime soon. Tyler Lockett might retire soonish.
I don't
So
know.
there's
Doesn't
some.
look like it.
I agree. He keeps playing. So that's
Okay.
just a nail. That's like a nail in your heel. It's like or a thorn in your heel. It's just Tyler Lockett kind of ruined your season for JSN. You
Yeah.
saw him have 20 points last week, and then they get him the ball three
3
times.
Yeah.
3 times. But that's just how it is. On the other side, Devon Achan is kind of worrisome. He only had 11 carries. Like this offense went 3 and out so much. And I think, even like you said, Huntley, if he comes in here, I don't think that changes this offense. You're
No.
going from a bad quarterback to a sub mid quarterback.
Yeah.
Like you're just not. Huntley is Lamar Jackson, but with a worse arm. Like we've seen him play. It'd be
Yeah.
different if we hadn't seen him play already. But he couldn't support anyone in Baltimore. He's not going to be able to support anyone in Miami. I and it's sad to say, and I told you this, but or I'll go on that in a second. But Achan, you're going to keep playing him because he's the main guy, and don't be worried about it. But this Dolphins team, kind of the same thing as the Colts. They're just too good to tank right now. They have too much money invested for them to tank. But if I would be really worried that if they start off this season 1-5, 1-6, like if they don't win a game before Tua comes back, I don't know if Tua plays once he comes back. Because if you're 1-7, your chance of the playoffs are none, like
Yeah.
zero in this AFC where you have to win. You got, I'd say Pittsburgh's 3-0 right now, and they are. But you got some decent 3-0 teams right now that probably aren't going to give up a 3-game lead. So really worrisome that if the Dolphins start to tank, these players go down the drain fast. I mean,
Yeah.
just fast because they're getting their money regardless. Tyreek, I would try to ship off. I know you've been trying to ship him off all week.
I've been trying.
The problem is, here's my biggest. I'll try to keep it quick. Jalen Waddle, you're benching. I really don't know if you're not trying. You're trying to get him for anything. I don't know if I wouldn't try to get Pickens for Waddle right now. I try to get something because Waddle was already the second man, and then when you're in a bad offense, the second man just can't get anything. So
Yeah.
that's what I'd be so worried. That's just what I'm so worried about. But you can maybe in Dynasty, don't freak out. But in a redraft, I don't know if you can keep Waddle on your team. That's just a huge hit.
Yeah.
But Tyreek Hill, the problem is, like I told you, ESPN, Big Dog, they moved him down from wide receiver 2 in week 2, all the way down to wide receiver 22. He
Yeah.
got moved down to wide receiver. That is below guys like I'm trying to think. I'm trying to remember the list. That's guys like Wilson on the Jets below him. It's behind guys like Chris Olave. It's
Yeah.
behind guys like
Elite
Marvin
neighbors.
Harrison. Yeah, yeah. You're behind these guys that when you start the season, you're like, oh, this guy top 2. So I think you have to reevaluate. And the problem isn't like this is a small injury.
Yeah.
And most of the time in your league, you got 1 or 2 guys that don't know. The problem is this was such a big injury to Tua that everybody knows about him. Like, this isn't
Yeah.
something that you can just kinda, like, weave your way into. I've seen it in my other league too, but everybody, even people that don't keep up with football, know enough, like, "Oh, the Dolphins are sucking." I think you have to reevaluate how much Tua's worked right now, or how much Tyreek's worked right now, and you have to be realistic with yourself.
Yeah.
I don't even think you could get DK Metcalf for Tyreek Hill right now, and that's just me being honest. Like, if I had DK Metcalf and I'm looking at Tyreek Hill and you offered me him straight up, I'd go, "No." Like, DK might go off for 2. We saw Tyreek Hill only got the ball 5 receptions, or 5 targets, 3 receptions, 40 yards.
Yeah. Unreal.
That's awful. We see guys with lower scores doing that all the time. So that's just really worrisome to me. And I know as a owner you don't want to hear that, but that's just the
It's the
reality that
truth.
we're in
Yeah.
right
I
now.
mean,
Yeah,
it's the fact.
it's just the reality we're in, and I'm hoping I'm hoping that it's not going to happen. But I think if you want to ship him off, then you're going to have to accept that. That's just the reality. I think a good trade target for him. I know, like, I have Devontae Smith. If you offered him like even equally, but that's what I'm saying.
It's
Like,
hard to do. You know what I mean?
that's
How
but
high you
that's where
pick?
you have to reevaluate yourself.
Yeah.
Like, do you think if you hold Tua for 4 more weeks, and this is a ton of people asking this question, at what point would it be so bad that you have to trade him? And so, like, because
Yeah.
you're 1-2 right now. Say you lose your next 2 games, and, like, let's just say hypothetically, you can't keep him on your team.
Yeah.
You
No.
just can't. You just can't do
Yeah.
it.
You have to go. Okay. I got to get
And
some.
but then at that point, if he keeps putting up these 5-point games, I don't know what you do. Then his value would be Michael Pittman.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you capitalize now, but if you ask me Devontae Smith for him, I would genuinely have to look at that and really debate, because I don't know if I'd want to give up Devontae Smith for him. I'm gonna be honest. Yeah, I'm not gonna go that far. Maybe in a week. If he puts up 5 more
Breathe.
points,
Breathe.
I was about to say something crazy. I was about to say something
we
crazy. I was about
we
to say I wouldn't give up Khalil Shakir for him, but
whoa.
we'll see about
Okay.
that.
Okay.
We'll see
We
about
you
that.
can't overreact too much. Obviously, it sucks and it looks really bad, and it doesn't look like it's going to get
Mhm.
better. Even statistically, even like in scheme of the offense, Tyler Huntley's not the answer. Okay, but maybe, just maybe, they're going to go. We're going to try to win games. We're going to get our best guy the ball. We're going to throw. They're just going to pepper him, and you hope they do that. I mean, that's why Jalen Waddle, for sure. You're like, I'm sitting this guy, but it's a hard position to be in. So it's kind of a tough thing. Well, we have a question in the chat here from one of our live listeners. Is Tua even good enough if you have him to keep him?
Aaron, I agree. I think that's a great question. Alex can answer this question because he is a Tua owner. Me personally,
Or Tyreek, yeah.
if I had, or Tua, yeah, but if you had Tyreek, I think you need to trade him now. I think you need to try
Yeah.
to find value for him, because if you wait too long, I think his value is just gonna be awful. I can't find anyone to take Christian McCaffrey right now,
Yeah.
let alone take Tyreek Hill after he lost his quarterback. But if you're talking about Tua specifically, or Tyreek, whichever one, Tua, the problem with Tua is he hasn't even announced if he's coming back. He said he's going to play, but he has no timeline of when he's coming back. And
Yeah.
that's my biggest problem with Tyreek. You just don't know the timeline when he's coming back. If Tua would have been said to keep Tua in Dynasty, if you have him in Dynasty, keep him. You're not getting rid of him because
Even Tyreek.
But that's what I'm saying. I think you need to trade Tyreek. And if Tua doesn't plan to come back, you can't bank on that for 6 weeks if you're 1-2, like a lot of us are. So if I had Tyreek, I'd be looking to ship him. Alex can answer that specifically, though. But what do you think, Alex, real quick?
Honestly, I mean, if you look at last year, based on based on the output that Tyreek had with Tua, I want to say you want to wait it out just as there's a chance that he could output that again, because they have such a good connection and they throw that thing deep. Like, Tyreek has such of an upside that, like, what was it, 2 weeks ago, that you hit him with a ball and he takes it 80 yards, you know? So it's one of those things where it's like you want to hold on to him, but you don't, because you could miss that point of where it's too late and you're 1-4. So it's kind of a tough position to be in, speaking from experience, but especially in a 10-team league, because nobody wants him. I mean, even Tyreek Hill for Brandon Ayuk, I mean, that's kind of hard to get. and Brandon Ayuk's looked awful. But it almost you kind of have to hold on to him, see what it looks like. And if you're 1-4, you need to go. You need to take a hard look and go. Can I get a guy on a bench that's a boom bust if it's that bad? But it's one of those things that's tough. So next game, man, we got the chat hopping today. This feels good. This feels good. Feels good. Um, Lions Cardinals. We'll bump through this one quick. Okay, Jared Goff again hasn't looked that great. Kind of sad to say. We really all believed in Jared Goff. David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. You know what? I'm starting Montgomery no matter what. I do not understand how this team can support two backs at this level. I just don't get it. But it is awesome. I mean, their offensive line is so good, and they just pound the ball, especially against the Cardinals defense. That's not good. So we'll see this next game. But Amon-Ra St. Brown finally looked like the guy you drafted him to be. So that's got to feel good because at first it was like, what are we doing? Get him the ball. Dan Campbell realized he needed to get the ball to his best player. On the other side, Sam Laporta, you're kind of in a position where you're like, maybe I need to trade this guy just based on name. It's another one of those things where it's like, okay, do I need this guy or do I need to get rid of him? Because some people, not in our league, sadly, but some people will see Sam Laporta and they'll go, oh, yeah, I'll take that trade. But they don't realize the production he's had. They just see the name of itself. So that's why sometimes it's good to try to use Tyreek's name, maybe not his production right now. On Kyler Murray's side there, he had a decent game. I mean, he could be better. That's his floor, I think, in my opinion. 14 fantasy points. James Conner did not look good because they were behind a lot. But Marvin Harrison had a good game. You're starting to have a little bit more faith in him. So how are you feeling about this, Avery?
I think it's crazy that we were all so high on Jared Goff, and Kyler Murray had a pretty bad game. Like, from his perspective, the first 3 weeks, this was a bad game. But I think it's just that's just what's crazy. Jared Goff has played so bad that Kyle Murray's floor is higher than Jared Goff right now. So that's just it's not even a comparison. It's apples to oranges. I
Yeah.
think David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, the big difference is David Montgomery's the more efficient rusher, but they're getting Gibbs the ball in the pass game. That's how they're able to sustain these two. The biggest hit though is the reason they're able to sustain these two is because Gibbs is getting the receptions that should be going to the tight end Sam Laporta. Sam Laporta is not having a good year. He got outscored by Wright this game. He got
Yeah.
outscored 4.6 to 5.4, which Sam Laporta did get a little nicked up. I get it. But if you got Sam Laporta, or you're just kind of devastated right now.
You're
You're
upset, yeah.
devastated that you draft him in the late second, early third, or maybe early third. I don't even know where you drafted him, but it had to have been high. I
Yeah,
know I didn't
mid-second,
even
early
think the
third,
price
yeah.
was high. And let's even look the other way. Sam Laporta had a bad game. Trey McBride only had 4 points. It's not like he did any better.
Yeah.
So tight ends have just been rough this year. That's just the story. Marv is doing great. Am I upset I traded him? Yeah. I got a good value at running back. But the problem is Marv, like I said, had that injury today. He might be out for 1 or 2 games,
Yeah,
which
it's
is
possible.
crazy to say. I also just want to slip in there. We saw the emergence of Trey Benson. He only had 2 carries, but he did get in the game. So
8 yards. 4 yards a carry. I mean, that's not bad.
just saying, James Conner though, super didn't see this coming. Didn't see James Conner only getting 3. So
Yeah.
just kind of crazy. But Wilson, that's who it is. Wilson. If Marvin Harrison is out this week, I think Wilson is a guy you need to go pick up.
Mike
And
Wilson.
you
Oh,
can
yeah.
honestly probably play him because if Harrison's out and McBride's out on concussion protocol, that's not him and Greg Dortch are the only guys to throw the ball to, which is crazy. It's crazy to say that. And one more thing about this game. Williams finally came back down to earth. It finally happened. We were
Yep.
wondering when it was going to happen, and he finally came back down to earth. 1 carry, -7 yards, 1 reception, 9 yards. Him and Rashid Shaheed are very similar archetypes, very similar players, do the same thing. And I don't know if I'll ever not view them as the same people, honestly. They run that deep route. If
Yeah.
they get that deep yard catch and a touchdown, it's a great week. Absolute stunner week. But if they don't, it's a bust. That's just how I look at it. But yeah, this game, I think better days are ahead for both these teams. But the lines are rolling. I don't want to be in their way because I think they could easily put up 41 game.
Yeah.
I think it's only a matter of time before they do it. So we'll have to see how it goes. Gibbs is going to get his, though. Gibbs really has been kind of quiet. He had 16 quietly, 1 touchdown. This guy could pop off for 30 a game. So
He could.
yeah.
But Montgomery, you got to start him. You're starting both these running backs, honestly.
Mhm.
I feel like if you had Jameer Gibbs and Montgomery on the same team, you put yourself in a handcuff situation. You arguably could start both of these guys in your running back 1 and 2 position, which is crazy to think. There's no other team in this league you could do that, honestly.
Nope.
This is the one team that this works for, and it's awesome to see if you're an owner of each of or a manager of either of these running backs. We got 3 more games to get to. We'll touch on these 2 real quick. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
We got a comment in the chat.
Oh,
We got a comment in the chat.
let me see there.
Would y'all trade? I'm gonna say Joe Mixon for Nico Collins. I'm gonna assume you're saying Nico Collins because I don't know another Nico. But me personally, yes, yes, I would. I think Joe Mixon is still. It depends where you're at. I might not know this team specifically because I haven't looked at them player by player. But if you're hurting at the wide receiver position and someone offers you for Mixon, I think
Take
Nico's
it.
the clear cut. Nico's the clear cut number one. I don't even think it comes close. And Nico's going to get his. He's going to get his 10 a game. So the problem with Mixon is if you're shorthanded and don't have like any running back depth, you can't trade Mixon because there's no one. I know us personally on our waiver wire, there's no
Nobody.
running backs to pick up.
Nope.
Nobody. There's really not anybody in general to pick up. If you don't want RB or a QB2, like that, it's just a reality. Like there's no one to pick up. I would make this trade if you need the upside and you have at least one more running back to fill in that spot.
Yeah.
But I think Nico can have these boom games, whereas Mixon's not going to have 25-point games, but Nico could go off for 41 games. So that's just my opinion. I would probably make it with the team I have. I'd make the trade.
That's what I was about to say.
I think
If it was my team, because I have Montgomery, Kamara, and Josh Jacobs, I could throw those around. I would for sure trade for Nico because my receiver room is hurt. So that's what I would do. I would for sure take that trade make it if I could get Nico back personally if I had Mixon. Also, because I think Mixon has a big name right now based on his first few games. I don't know if he can keep that up. I don't know if he can keep up he can't keep up a 3 touchdown game, obviously. But
we got one more. We got one more comment.
I'm loving
Should
this.
I start Chris Olave or Marvin Harrison this week? I think this is an easy answer. Me personally, I think you're starting Marvin Harrison this week. Marvin Harrison,
if he's playing.
If he's playing, keep an eye on that. He plays at 305. And so this is a little bit of a struggle that you got to make because Chris Olave is going to play at 12. So it's tough. Put Marvin your flex option if you can, if you're going to start him. That way you can have a bounce. That way if he's not scheduled to play, which we should know by tomorrow, but you got a good situation if you have to decide between. I wish I had to decide between these two guys. Because mine's way worse. I got to decide between T. Higgins and Khalil Shakir. And these are apples and oranges. Not even close. But I think I think you're starting Marvin Harrison. Marv is playing the Commanders. The Commanders are just give up passing. They just give up everything. Jamar Chase, you saw that number one go off for 2 touchdowns, like 30 points. I think Marv can do the same thing against them. So I'm probably starting Marvin Harrison because we're still on his easy part of the schedule. His back half is pretty brutal. But right now I'm starting Marv. Chris Olave is still the number one option for I said it last week. I think it's still true. Chris Olave is still the number one option. But if I'm debating, I'm starting Marvin Harrison because he has such a high ceiling. Chris Olave is probably going to max out at 20. This because Derek Carr likes to spread the wealth. So I'm starting Marvin Harrison. What about you, Alex? What you thinking?
I definitely would start Marvin Harrison if he's playing. This Commanders, every team has just Malik Neighbors just played the Commanders secondary, and he had like 28. The man went off. I think he had also like 14 targets. But Marvin Harrison, arguably could get 14 targets on this offense because he's that guy. And this secondary they just can't guard. All the receivers looked good. Iosivas, I think, Andre even got a touchdown this last week in the Bengals. So it's like that's a second string guy. I would definitely do it.
But I'll just add one more thing in there real quick. Because playing the Commanders week 1, they gave up 38 combined to Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. 38 combined fantasy points. And then, like you said, Malik Neighbors had 20-something. and then they just gave up massive numbers to Jamar Chase. So if you have the wide receiver one, Marvin Harrison, you're starting this guy because they're going to give up. They just can't stop anybody. Now
Yeah.
their offense is great, so this is probably going to be a shootout. This is what you want. Start Marv, and then would you trade Mixon and Brian Thomas for Nico and Adunze?
Let me answer
That
this one.
is where you want to go first. I'll let you.
Let me
I'll
start
let you
off.
go first. Let me hear what
We'll
you got.
end. We'll end with this question. There was a few more games, but honestly, we don't even want to talk about
I
the
mean, we
Chiefs.
can go through the games real quick. Just label the games real quick.
Okay.
Just go through them. Just say them.
Chiefs Falcons. We had the Falcons win. It is what it is.
Yeah,
Chiefs pulled
we
through.
fumbled that bag.
No, we didn't fumble the bag. The referees did.
The
But
refs fumbled the bag.
anyways, the NFL script's crazy. They want the Chiefs to succeed, even though everybody else is rooting against.
I'm telling you, they want that undefeated matchup between the Steelers and Chiefs for Christmas Day.
That's
coming.
what it is.
It's coming. Get ready, strap in.
I just don't understand it. I mean, it was clearly PI, but that's it for another discussion for another day.
Quick thing on that game, Rashee Rice. If you can get him, do it. I know we've all tried. We just haven't got him.
We are trying.
He was so good. And Travis Kelce, though, I think he might be a trade for guy. I think he's going to have an uptick in production. I think he's at his floor. Now, could he if he does this 2 more games, don't trade for him. But I think he's going to have an uptick in what he's doing. He's just too bad. He's just too good, too good to do this again. So I do think the Chiefs, I don't know if I'm starting any of their running backs, but on the other side, Falcons, I'm going to keep playing Bijan. His floor is 13 points. I'll take that every day of the week. You're still playing Drake London, and you're still playing Kyle Pitts. At least I am, because we'll see how it goes. I don't have Kyle Pitts is the number 4 tight end. Just know that. Number 4 tight end right now, which is absurd. He should not be a number. It's just insane. He had 1 catch for 50 yards. That does not deserve a number 4 spot.
It does not.
But that's just that. What's the next game we got?
Jags, Bills. Josh Allen is clearly the number 1 quarterback.
That just wasn't even a game. You can just keep moving.
I'll talk about that more in just a sec too. And Commanders, Bengals. The Commanders are the Commanders are looking good. Jane Daniels Joe Burrow even looked good in this game. Even though they're 0-3. We'll see what that looks like. But yeah, Zach Moss looks good. Brian Robinson is going to be an upgrade, and we finally seen the upcoming of Terry McLaurin. So that's good to see. Scary Terry, baby. Hopefully that continues. That is our Week 3 roundup. We're going to answer this question to end out our podcast. So, would you trade Mixon and Brian Thomas for Nico and Adunze? Personally, if you're hurting in the receiver room, if this was me and this was my team, I'm doing this trade. And here's why. The Jags, I think, are on a decline. I don't think they're going to come back. I don't think they're going to bounce back from just the smackdowns they've had over and over and over. The Panthers have more wins than the Jaguars. Let's just let that set in, right? Trevor Lawrence, he's got a lot of weapons. They should be good. And Travis Etienne, he's going to continue to get his. So, Rome Odunze, if Keenan Allen continues to be hurt, and Caleb Williams, like we talked about earlier, is throwing that thing 50 times a game, 40 times a game, you kind of want to start Rome Odunze sometimes just for the upside. And Nico is the solidified number 1 guy on a good offense. And he's the end zone guy. He's the middle of the field guy. He's the chain mover. And the other guys are moving around. On top of that, I will say Tank Dell is not playing this weekend. So you definitely are want to upgrade Nico Collins and this offense. So I would take this trade, personally. Avery, how do you feel about this?
Honestly, I think I know this man's team pretty well, and I might have it pulled up. I think your wide receivers are absolute dog doo-doo right now. And so anything would absolutely help you. I think anything would help you. But your problem is if you get rid of Mixon, I do not appreciate the hate on the Steelers. I don't appreciate that. I shouldn't even give my opinion to you. But to keep it quick, I think if you get rid of this running back, you're really in trouble because then you're relying on guys like maybe Chuba Hubbard and Zach Charbonnet that are backup running backs to kind of help you out a little bit. Or somebody by the name of James Conner that just put up like 4 points.
Yeah.
Is age catching up to him? We'll see. But I think I would make this trade because sometimes you got to take the gamble. And I think your receiver, we don't know everybody's team. If you want to send us your teams, send it through to the email. We'd love to help you out. We ain't got nothing but time. Specifically, Alex ain't got nothing but time to help you out. But that's just me. I think I would make this trade because if you're getting Nico Collins, he's just next level stuff.
No.
He's the number one. I said you should make this trade for Joe Mixon and Nico. Brian Thomas, I just don't think is going to keep up the production. I just maybe they figure it out. I said Travis Etienne's a buy, kind of like buy low candidate. But if the Jags don't figure it out here soon, they're going to tank this year. Same
Yep.
thing I said about the Dolphins. Even though you're too good to tank, if you start off 0-8, you're going to tank. If you
Mac
start off
Jones season.
0-5, you can't do that. They're kind of in the Deshaun Watson problem. They can't get rid of him because of cap space. They're going to keep playing him.
Mac Jones.
But Odunze, here's my problem with Odunze, though. Just real quick, I know we're right up against the time. We usually don't go past an hour and 10. If Keenan Allen comes back, it's just going to be a problem because you're going to get every one of these guys the ball. They could all be wide receiver ones on a different team, kind of like Malik Neighbors is right now. If you were to put Odunze there, he's doing the same thing. Maybe not the same, but he's putting up similar numbers. So it just really depends about your environment. If Caleb Williams is going to throw the ball 50 times, though, you can probably do this trade, and you can probably start Odunze.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's going to throw the ball 50 times a game. But he just might. If he does it again next game, you can start him. But I'd make this trade. Me personally, I probably would. But then you're banking on if there's one injury to your running back core, you're cooked. Start learning Chinese, pal. You're cooked. So this is probably how it's going to go. But yeah, I think that's the right trade, don't you, Alex? I'd probably make that.
I agree. I do agree. Completely agree with you. So I appreciate the comments today. We're live different days.
Yep.
It depends on the day. Our schedule. We're busy boys. We got a lot of time on our hands that we're grinding and making money moves.
Making money.
So we're all making money moves. Come on, Avery. Come on.
Some of us are making money.
Haters.
Dallas is up 14-9. Giants are driving. CeeDee Lamb caught a 60-yard touchdown pass, so we are not going to be able to trade for him next week. I was really hoping he would suck. So it is what it is, though. I tried everything to get him. I tried everything to get him. It just is what it is.
Yeah. So did Matt. So maybe Matt will be here. I believe we'll either be here tomorrow or Saturday. So just look out for us. Turn on those notifications. Like and subscribe. You can listen to us on Spotify. That's right. But thank you guys so much for tuning in to Takeology. We appreciate your time, and we hope your fantasy team is doing better than ours. Have a blessed rest of your night and a good rest of your weekend. Signing out.